So all this month, we have been talking about higher, deeper love. And we've talked about the inside of our own selves and love. And we've talked about the individual and how we walk out that love. And today, we're going to talk about the collective and how we walk out that love with our final week of talks where the title is a song lyric or title. When I started digging into how do we talk about this idea of how we be love, I mean, it is our vision, right, as New Vision Center? Revealing the power of love. How do we be love as a community and as a world? Because it doesn't really do us any good, does it, if we're only keeping it in our own little inner circle? We know we've got a great way of being in the world here. Each one of us is wherever we're at on the path of learning to identify most fully with divine love. And we look out there, and there's a whole world that we would like to see also getting to experience this higher, deeper love, right? So today we're going to talk about the world we find ourselves in right now, the world we envision, and the world we get to co-create together. Sound good? Excellent. So we start with the world we find ourselves in, the world we have right now. And I get it. I'm going to invite all of our religious science fundamentalists, everybody who took SOM 101, 102, 103, 104, back in the day when it was like a year. Join me in a deep breath. There can be a tendency to not want to look at the things that we don't want to see in the world because worrying is praying for what we don't want, right? And we can't clean what we won't look at. We can't heal what we won't acknowledge. So I invite us to step into the possibility. I'm only asking you to step into the possibility that we can, in fact, look at things that are challenging without the big bad law coming to get us and dragging us into a bad place where that's all there ever is, ever again, forever. Yeah? Consider the possibility. Because the world we find ourselves in is a crazy quilt. It is expression and beauty. If we were to see a quilt, especially in the Great Depression, this theme came up around crazy quilts, where rather than the perfectly pieced patterns that we're used to seeing from our very proud friends who get very good at a very challenging skill, they just took the pieces of whatever they had and they sewed it into a quilt with all of these pieces with decorative stitches and all of these patterns. That is like the world we find right now. There is profound beauty, and there is heart-aching loss. There is pain and confusion, and there's a Sunday morning where I get to stand up here and say, we welcomed, oh my goodness, baby Serafina this weekend. And all of that is all mushed together, right? New grandbabies, gardens overflowing, very proud gardeners in Arizona to grow anything. I'm impressed with you. And there's agreement and disagreement and passionate ideas and war and genocide and kindergartners graduating. All of it is the world we find ourselves in right now. And we can have this tendency as humans to parse that crazy quilt up into good and bad, into what should be and what should not be. The joy of cooperation, the deep, searing pain of rejection, what we want and what we do not want to experience. But what if we opened up to the idea that each little piece of this crazy quilt that we call life is not good and bad, but that they are, in fact, crucial indicators. And what are the indicators of? They're indicators of love, where we see harmony and growth and beauty and kindness. We see where love, divine love, is making itself known powerfully in individuals and in communities and in families and in whole countries. And where we see loss and pain and frustration and disharmony and disconnection, we have the opportunity to see that as a place where love is invited. Do you feel the difference between good and bad versus I see love there, I see love needed there? It's such a different way to process the world, and it calls us to a really different way of showing up as the allness of ourselves. So newer friends, just a reminder, or perhaps fresh new information, that here we believe that the divine is making itself known as everything that ever has been and ever will be, including every single person, every relationship, every object, every place, every unfoldment, everything. That God, the divine, spirit, the universe, that's all there is. And then a synonym for the all is love. So the good news is when we get an invitation to step into that love in a place that feels, shall we say, messy, where there is pain and fear and a really good chance you're going to get chewed out, it can take a little bit of guts to wander over here with my divine love, right? And what if that is the call to action? What if that is what the whole reason we can see the different squares of the crazy quilt? People ask me all the time, why is life hard? If God is so good, why do I feel pain? If God is so good, why is this war or that immigration thing or this political thing or my grandbaby's illness or any of these things? Why? If God is good, why would I see all of this? What if the reason we see all of it is because we love to say we are the hands and feet of the divine. If God is saying, hands, over there, you're needed where love is needed. Be my love here. Be my love in the rooms where people are shouting. Be my love in the family that isn't talking. Be my love with people who you think you have nothing in common with, because I'm here to tell you, friends, if you think there is someone with whom you have nothing in common, you have never talked to them. When I was a kid, I thought old people were boring. I know. Then you talk to some of them and you find out what they did in 1964. Stories. What we haven't really looked at, we don't know. We're making it up. The lives of the people who believe differently than we do, the things we think we know about them, we have made it up. And if we are that good at making stuff up, friends, let's make up some good stuff. Right? The call to action starts within. Thank goodness we had the last 3 weeks to cover that. And then it starts to circle out, right, into our closest circles, into our beloveds, into our close-knit family, our very best friends. And then we get to New Vision Center, and then we get to the greater cities and states and countries in which we live. And then it becomes the world. Where can I be that love that thankfully I don't have to manufacture myself because Spirit already put it in me. Thank goodness. Spirit already put it in you too. So that brings us to the world we envision. If we open up to this idea that this infinite love is available through us in every situation, now we get to play, right? Now we get to think, okay, if I'm going to make stuff up, what am I going to make up? Consciously, intentionally, from that place of absolutely desiring good in the world for everyone. So I always touch in on the New Vision Center vision first, revealing the power of love. And then I go to the Centers for Spiritual Living, which is our parent organization, their global vision, which is we envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. For the meadows and the butterflies, for the beautiful red rocks of Sedona, for all of creation. Now, we know that life is working very well for my two very spoiled dogs. But for all of our animal friends, how do we take that envisionment? I mean, it's not like we went low and slow on that one. Like, we really kind of shot the basket beyond the three-point arc. A world that works for everyone and for all of creation is a big ask. And here's the deal. It requires active participation. This kind of a vision doesn't just hum itself into being. It requires people like us saying, yes, yes, I believe that the divine expresses as me. Yes, I believe that the calling upon my heart, upon my life, of the divine is simply to be who I actually am. And that is love, because I was made that way. And so, yes, I will get involved beyond my own little sphere of personal influence, beyond just what's going on in my house, in my life right now. I will open up to people and beliefs and places and unfoldments that I have pretended up until now have nothing to do with me. Because if we are all one, there is nothing that isn't to do with you. Everything has to do with you, personally, with every one of us. Because if that is not so, there is no oneness. And I don't really want to live in that world, so I'm going to stick with this one. It demands active participation in the areas of challenge that go beyond interpersonal, systemic change, mutual aid, reparative practices are love in action. We see it all the time in our outreach team, one of our most beloved teams. Mutual aid, helping to pay for a washer and a dryer so that family after family, in their quest to become independent again, can take care of their family in dignity. I can't imagine a world where we would not want to do that together as a community. When we step together in the direction of where love is needed, that's when the threads of cooperation and interdependence and truly divine love become visible. There was a time when we didn't do outreach here at New Vision Center. We were pretty well spinning our wheels as hard as we could just to stay a center. It didn't feel like there was the energy for it. It didn't feel like there was the money for it. It felt like we just got to take care of our own. And one belovedly mouthy practitioner pushed and pushed and needled and needled and pushed and needled until there was a yes. Can we even imagine a New Vision Center that didn't lovingly dedicate ourselves to outreach? Love in action. Now, Reverend Karen Blakely changed the internal system of New Vision Center to find that we had this space. Reverend Dr. Penny Masick changed the internal system of New Vision Center to recognize that tithing was an essential part. And so as a whole community, we tithe. Bit by bit, we change the systems, and it ripples out beyond New Vision Center, into our cities, into our states, into our nations, into our world. But as we do this, as we see those threads of love, we also see the places where there is woundedness. When we really look, we're going to see the whole crazy quilt. And sometimes that can cause us to be like, oh, never mind, didn't really want to look at that. That looks real messy. I don't want to go there. But in the mess is the transformation. None of us ever had a big life-changing aha moment when everything was going real nice and smooth and we had extra sherbet in the freezer. Nope. It's when it gets bumpy, when we get broken open. In the mess is the space for transformation. So we get to decide that we are going to stay conscious in the mess and hold this amazing paradox of perfection and progress. Imperfection and progress. We take the steps forward. Ooh, there's a mess. Imperfection. We take some steps forward. Ooh, it's a mess. We can't move forward. There's nothing to move forward into if we're not willing to be in the mess, to hold the paradox of two things being true at the same time. We can't progress if we won't progress through the challenging parts. So the world we get to create, it's an exciting opportunity. We are in the crazy quilt. There's all kinds of messes. Never thought I'd say that like it's a good thing, did ya? But there are all sorts of places that are ripe for transformation. We remember, it's not about ignoring the difficulties. It's about digging right in where they are and engaging through the lens of love, of that capital L, divine love. I have a quote from Adrienne Marie Brown in her book, Loving Corrections. And it says, "We create the patterns of our society through our choices and beliefs and practices. As such, the path to a future in which humans can be in authentic and accountable peace with each other is fractal. We must be willing to practice authenticity and accountability at the small scale of ourselves and our lives, both in ourselves and in our immediate relationship." And I would say that continues into our New Vision community and ripples beyond. We have to be willing to engage, to practice authenticity and accountability. We get an opportunity to dig right in, and if you are someone who has been involved in the conversation about inclusion and diversity and welcoming and belonging here in the community, and you are thinking, oh my God, she's going to talk about it again, we're just going to take another breath. Let's do one more. So, as is often true in a community that is growing by leaps and bounds the way ours is, in a community that is growing in such a diverse way with more than half of our congregation online, spread all over North America and beyond, we've had some bumps. We've had some bumps in the road where perhaps we haven't always been as open or as kind or as inclusive or as accepting as we would like to believe we are. We've had some opportunities, messes, where we've gotten to see with that, don't you just love the 2020 high definition of hindsight? Policies maybe we should have had in place. Processes that would have been really helpful if they'd been developed before that mess appeared. And blind spots, because we all have them. Every car has multiple, every human is the same. And wherever our woundedness is, you better believe there is a big old blind spot right around each one of our bright and shiny wounds. And so, as it is the time, it's been 7 years since we've had an inclusivity team. We've formed a committee of 18 people, if you can believe it, to have some conversations. And the very first round of conversations are our listening circles, where every single person in the community, anyone who has ever been part of New Vision Center or calls it home or friend, is invited to come share a few minutes of their thoughts around inclusivity, welcoming, belonging, diversity, equity here at New Vision Center. And it's a listening circle because we can tend to put our emphasis on the things that are being shared, and those are important. But more important is for all of us to hear them. I want to hear the people who say, this is the most welcoming place I've ever been in. I was included from the minute I walked in the door. I want to hear from the people who say, I think that we do a pretty good job, and this is a concern I've had, and I shared it with people, and it didn't get acted upon. We have to be willing to stand in the mess together to see love belongs here. And then when we've all done our sharing, that committee gets to make recommendations to the Leadership Council and to the ministerial team. How can we be divine love more powerfully right here so that we can walk it all out together? That's the intention of the listening circles. And to me, it is an absolutely beautiful example of love lifting us up where we belong as intermediaries of love, as the divine in action. And so, here is the big call to action is come to listening circles. We will keep announcing them. There are 2 in July, 1 in August. But we need a call to action for right now, too, right? So I have an affirmation for us. And let's say it together. I am consciously co-creating a higher, deeper love in the world. Let's say it one more time together. I am consciously create a higher, deeper love in the world. Because, my friends, not just in Science of Mind, but everywhere in this big, beautiful planet, love is what lifts us up every time. And so it is. Let's anchor this in with some prayer. Oh, how good it is to remember that there is only one power, one presence, one divinity that goes by infinite names and is celebrated in infinite ways, but is the all that is love and peace and abundance of every good and needed thing, that is wholeness, and that meets each of its creations right where each one is. How good it is for me to remember that I am of that, so that I can remember that everyone within the sound of my voice is of that, and indeed every beloved everywhere. There's nothing else to be made of other than that divine good. And so I can recognize that that which is brought into this space on hearts, on minds, that Spirit is already on the job bringing about healings. That whatever seems to be creating the mess in the crazy quilt, that the divine love as each beloved is already healing that wound, providing what is needed. That the entire universe conspires for our good. And I'm so grateful to know it. I'm so grateful for the wholeness, for the peace, for the love of every beloved. And to know that only more good is to come. And so I release this word into the action of universal law and call it delightful as we say, and so it is.